Hello everyone, this is Ronnie, and in this video I'm going to talk about UK Fruitfest, which is the raw vegan festival slash retreat that have been running the last 12 years, that we've done the last 12 years, started in 2014. And I told the audience at the event that I've made the choice not to do it next year. And that's the only decision I've made so far about it. So my plan is not to do it next year. Whether it happens after that or in the future is it depends. This is all in a kind of it depends situation. But me personally, I love bringing people together to share fruit, and I love these events, and I don't see myself ever wanting to stop doing something to bring people together and create these spaces and all that kind of stuff. So I think that'll always be part of my life in some way or other. But I've made this decision not to do the event next year, and it is quite difficult to make this decision because when you've done something 12 years in a row, there's a great sense of momentum, I suppose, and maybe wanting to keep it going and, get 20 years in a row or 30 years in a row, or never stop doing it your whole life. And you think, wow, what would that be like? And in some ways, that's a great idea. But I think sometimes you have to take some time out from something. And in this video, I think I'll try and discuss a little bit about how and why I made this decision. To start off with, let me tell you a bit of the background about why I started the event. I was somewhere in the region of 27, 28 years old when I started learning about the raw vegan diet. When I went to events for the first time. So I went to the Woodstock Fruit Festival, which took place in upstate New York, and was very motivated by that. Firstly, to stay raw, which I did after that, and secondly, to share this with other people and somehow bring a taste of what I'd felt at the festival back home. And I've always lived in Glasgow and still do. And there was someone at the festival, a guy called Evan Rock, who had a fruit luck in California. And I'd heard of fruit lucks a little bit, that people would have gatherings where they'd come together and share fruit and eat. So I came back to Glasgow and I started a fruit luck on meetup.com. I still have, I used to call it Glasgow Fruit Luck, it's went through a few different names. It's now sort of dinner party tasting sessions or something now. Anyway, so I've had these gatherings in Glasgow for since then, small gatherings, right? And I kind of had this feeling like this event that I went to and this community is the best thing in my life. At that time was the best thing in my life and the most exciting thing in my life, and so I should push into that. So I started to go to more events, more retreats, and specifically I went to the Danish fruit festival that used to happen, that started before Woodstock, the Spanish festival that happened quite a few times, the Slovenia event, and I went to a thing in Thailand, and all of these events, really what connected them is they'd all formed around the community that came about after the 80-10-10 book had been published and the forum 30 Bananas a Day had blown up, or was blowing up. And there was a number of influencers who were blowing up on YouTube in different places teaching raw vegan diet, 80-10-10 diet. At least in my reality they were, because I was interested in it, right? So, but some of them did reach quite national or international, awareness, like Freely the Banana Girl and Christina to some degree, Philly Raw Christina. So, and others, right? So So all those events were to some degree connected to Doug Graham, 80-10-10, 30 Bananas a Day, some degree. Like I found out about most of those events from like 30 Bananas a Day and people involved in the 80-10-10 community, right? Basically. So that was the connection with all these things I was going to, and I enjoyed all those events a lot. The Spanish event I was underslept because I didn't have a good sleeping bag and stuff, but apart from that, I enjoyed that too. Um, but I just thought this was like an amazing thing that I'd found, and I thought this is so truthful and real and impactful that this is gonna really take over the world in a way. And I felt like I should play my part in that. And I mentioned to Doug Graham at the Slovenia event, I said, we should maybe do an event in the UK. And he said, if you do that, I would support it. And that was like a real surprise in a sense, because it's like, wow, this, the legend Doug Graham himself would be open to do something. And I happened to be helping with a weekend event, and the only reason I was doing this weekend event was because the girl that had done the event the year before, basically people from the UK who are interested in 80-10-10 had booked a house the year before in London, and we'd all stayed together and had a great time. So we wanted to do the same, but she was not active, so I did it basically. And a lady called Angie helped me, and she found a place, and we did this weekend event, and a bunch of people came from like around the world. Well, not around the world quite, but from other parts of Europe, people came to this event, and that was really cool. And it went nice. And I said to them all, because I had this passion in me, this real passion, this real burning thing. I said to them, if any of you want to help with the festival, I'm going to go to this tent. And 10 people came along. This is from like 25 people at this event. Like 10 people, nearly half of the event came to the tent to hear this discussion about maybe starting a festival. And basically we then got started. And a lady called Helen was very active in trying to find a venue, and Hildegard was very active in helping out with things, and there's a guy called Ian that was helping out, and there was Diana, there was Duncan, there was Simon, who was the videographer for years of the event, and a number of other people I think were in that group. And we stumbled forward with trying to do this event. In that time, the 80-10-10 movement had a big schism break thing. And what happened was the Woodstock had said they weren't going to have Harley and Frehley as pioneers, but they'd had a vote. The pioneers had a vote, and Harley and Frehley felt really let down by that. And there was, that community that was so thriving and growing, or it felt like that all kind of fell apart, and people stopped promoting 80-10-10 as much, and to some degree Doug was taken down off his pedestal a little bit, and all these things. And the 80-10-10 community really after that sort of flatlined. It's never really. Now I think there are more people doing 80-10-10 now than there was then, but for us, there are places that there's fruit-based diet, but not quite 80-10-10 places anymore, right? So the idea of eating more fruit has thrived and gone out there, but a lot of people have listened to other voices, like, I don't know, Robert Morse and the medical medium, and all these different people have come in, and people have kind of found out about raw foods through them, and then eventually maybe started to eat more fruit and all that stuff. And there's many influencers who are eating a fruit-based diet who never mention 80-10-10, or who use words like fruitarian, but in reality none of them would be fruitarian without 80-10-10, without the fact they're following 80-10-10 principles, without really realising it. Anyway, the information gets out there, the truth gets out there, and it's... Anyway, so, but we pushed on with the festival, and we've pushed on with the festival obviously 12 years. And for me, it's always been a thing of like, the first event, by the way, we had great feedback. It was a fairly small event, but had really great feedback. But it was a really emotionally challenging for me, stressful, emotionally challenging, and ultimately unrewarding, because there wasn't anything really left over. This is the thing with events. There can be a real feeling of like everyone goes home. What did you actually get out of this? Right? It's a really weird feeling of everyone just goes home, and then, like, especially with an event that attracts people from around quite a big geographical location. Like even in the first year, someone came from Florida to our event. So you've got this wide range of people coming, and then you don't see them after that. You can sort of stay in touch with them a little bit, but there's this feeling of like, okay, everyone's gone home. And then you've got the bills left to pay, and if the event hasn't made enough money, which it didn't, then you're left with all that. And everyone's kind of left on a high, and you're kind of in this thing of kind of being emotionally traumatized by the whole experience of doing the event, and then left with like the bills to pay and all that, and like, okay, how am I going to do this? And so there's a lot of lessons to learn, but ultimately it was a good experience for me to go through, and ultimately changed me a lot in a positive way. And after that, every year was really, I never really knew if I was going to do it again, to be honest. It was always a sort of thing of like, should I do this again? Should I commit to this again? Can I do this again? Because it was so tough on me, right? And because I didn't really know how to manage a project like that properly, right? And probably didn't quite feel I knew anyone around me. I probably could have reached out to people to help with that, but there's so many things to learn if you're starting from almost zero. So many things to learn, like the finance side or tracking the money and all that. How do you do that? Didn't really know that. Um, the working with people and teamwork and building teams and recruiting people and all that stuff, promoting and marketing, and that's very complicated, which people don't really completely underestimate. Dealing with customer service issues and what's the best way to deal with that, and it's really chaotic, pretty much. And you try to deal with all these things. At the same time, it would be great to have a team, but you're sort of like, well, to be honest, I was not very bold enough with putting a team together. I probably could have always had people helping me out more. I never really did that, so that stressed me because I was ended up doing everything and or not everything, but gradually ended up doing like a lot on my own, and wasn't really putting together a proper plan and things of like, everything was very ad hoc, just doing everything in the moment. And if someone made an inquiry, I didn't have like a script to follow. I just sort of like would talk to them in whatever way and everything. And so a lot of energy, a lot of stress in doing it. But there was a kind of a curiosity in me of like, there's a sense of like, well, all I had to do was get some more people, and it would have all worked out. And maybe have a different venue, and maybe do this and that differently, and it would have all been even better. And I didn't really have anything else I was doing, any other plans. So I thought, why not try and do it again? And we got more people the second year. And then there was, and then I think you start to learn, well, if you actually promote the next year's event at that event, you'll get people signed up early and all that. And you start doing that, so that commits you to the next year. And I was really in a position I had to do it sometimes. I had to push through and put it on. So I was in a very uncomfortable position of doing it for years, and kind of gradually got to the point that there was a year or two where it certainly made there was a lot of money left over, or like I wouldn't say a lot of money, but there was a significant amount of money left over that made me kind of think, well, maybe if this can keep growing, I can do this as maybe like full time or something. But the event was so unpredictable, and you would change one thing. So we changed from a 5 day event to a full week, and that changed things totally. Um, and I just thought it would grow again, and it didn't. And the only real difference we'd made was making it into a longer event. And I didn't realise how much of an impact that would have. And also the marketing of it, I was not very sharp with. Took me, I mean, even to the very end of it, I never got like super sharp with the marketing and promoting of the event. I got better and better at it, but never got to the point where we had so much demand that we would just fill the event easily. Never got to that point. So that was always a stress, was just getting enough people. So the event went on, and we gradually, to promote the event, we had more influencers join in the first 5 years. So I was reaching out to more and more of the influencers, and we had lots of great people that came along and spoke at the event. We ended up having quite a roll of people like Ted Carr, Fruitarian, and Christina, Fully Rockstina came along, and Dr. Rick and Karen Dina, Melissa, Raw Food Romance, Melissa. A whole bunch of people. A whole bunch of people that had a following. Robbie Barbaro, Mastering Diabetes. So a whole bunch of people had come along over the years and been part of the event and did a great job. And they helped promote it, but we still had to advertise it as well. But that helped the event, I think, to get out there a bit more. And then COVID came along. And the year before COVID, 2019, the event had financially not done well again, but had been a big event, but financially been not that great. And I was I was once again in this position of like, should I really keep doing this? And I decided to go for it one more time, because once again I didn't really have another idea. Well, I did start to have other ideas, but I went for it, and I was always in this thing of like, if I could just figure out a better way of promoting this, or how to get people signed up and all these things, if I could just do that and get X amount of people, I could make it all work. If I could predictably get enough people signed up. And a guy had shared with me something at Woodstock where he said that he would book calls with people to fill his program. So I started to do that, and it worked really well, and it worked better than I thought, and started to get a lot of people signed up. And the event, and it was like getting loads and loads of people signed up, and it was going great. And then COVID happened, and had to refund a lot of people and cancel, and that was a killer. So it was like after 5 or 6 years, it was the feeling of like finally starting to get somewhere with this. And then COVID happened, and just that really took the wind out of my sails quite a lot. Because prior to that, I was like quite confident about helping out with other events, and maybe starting another event, and had this confidence about it. And I mean, I'd helped Ted with the Canada Fruitfest, and then problems had happened with that, and I was really disappointed with that. I thought that we'd created an event that would thrive and keep going for years, and it only happened twice. And that was really disappointing to me, because I put a lot of time into it. I didn't get really anything out of it, and I was just hoping it would keep going, and it didn't. So that really took a lot of confidence out of me as well, and kind of wind out of my sails, or whatever you want to call it. After COVID, I thought, I can only do this if I can do it in a way that doesn't stress me so much. And that was that's been one of the key things in this whole story, has been that the event has stressed me in a way that other things in my life haven't ever. It uniquely stressed me in a particular way, and emotionally stretched me and put me into dark places, quite frankly, and like bad places in my head. And like I would get angry at people that I was speaking to, the people that were interested in coming and all sorts. I would get angry at so many people. I would really, even if I didn't express it, I would feel it. And there was a sense in me like something's wrong about this. This is not happening the right way. This is not being arranged in the right way. This is not following some kind of divine way that things should be planned out. And I thought about that for years, but the year after COVID, I thought, let's make it a smaller event. Let's put the price up a bit. Let's maybe have a bit of a better venue. And that year worked quite well, but it was a smaller event. And for a few years, it was just kind of like, that was kind of what it was. And I'd basically got to the point where I thought, right, I'm going to try and go full time on this, which even before COVID, I would say I'd tried to. Because I thought, if I take this full time, if I just do this and really focus on it, I can make it successful. What actually ended up happening was I procrastinated a lot. I didn't manage my time very well. I wasted a lot of time, well, that's what I felt. I didn't really have anyone to reach out to. I was on my own a lot. I was like spending days not doing much. Like I just didn't know how to manage myself, manage a project. I was unproductive a lot. Still having these good events, but it was once a year. And that sense of like, we could do so much more. There's more to do if it could all work and there was enough money to put into the event and everything. We could do other things. We could build a team. We could do this. And it was just like trying to get it off the ground, trying to get it going was like the tough thing. So, and also just really trying to get me going, because I was thinking, why am I so unmotivated? Like I really need to make this work, and I'm so unmotivated. And then I'm talking to people and I'm getting really angry about it all, and it's like this is emotionally not a good place to be. And it went on for a few years at Dunfield House, and it's been good there. And but even then, over the last few years, I started to think this this isn't right. And with my martial arts club, I started this Aikido club, and when I was running the Aikido club, I thought this feels so much easier and better and practical, and I get to see the people every week, because this is another thing about the festival. It was once a year, and it's like this international event that has people coming from all over the world, and I never see these people again quite a lot of the time. Now I hope I do get to see them again, and some of them would come back to the event, which was amazing, but it's not the same as someone in your neighbourhood or people in your own city that you can kind of potentially bump into and invite them to something the next weekend or whatever. So I just thought, I want to do something more local. I'd rather build community in my life locally. And we're doing this big festival and we don't really even have a community for it. And that was the other thing. It's like, there was this 80-10-10 thriving community at one point, and people were finding the events through 30 Bananas a Day and through the people that were posting and all that. And that's kind of just gone. There's still a bit of an 80-10-10 community, but and there are some forums in that, but who's even like hosting the forums? Who's leading this movement? There's just nothing really going on. And it's all individual people acting to do their coaching and their retreat and their own social media page and all that. And that sense of this as a community is not really happening as I felt it was. And I think that Harley and Freely were great at that. And that was kind of their vision. And Harley was always about building the community. I remember him saying that a lot, building the community. And I think he was disappointed that he, to some degree, would be at events and just see everyone trying to hustle for clients and stuff like that, and you know, trying to get money out of these events and stuff, and not really seeing the bigger picture. So, you know, that's how I've approached it, like trying to build this as a community. And that's, I always had other people involved speaking. I didn't do a lot of the speaking in the first 6, 7 years, but I started to think this is more practical for me. Firstly, to try and focus more on building myself, my own public outreach, because I'm really helping other people. Like, I'm doing this event and I'm promoting these other people as part of the event. And when I started to do the phone calls, people would be contacting me and they didn't know who the speakers were. I started to realize, well, people aren't really coming for the speakers as much as they are for the, like, they do want the education, but they don't even know who these speakers are a lot of the time. So I was surprised by that. And I thought, maybe selfishly, I should just be promoting myself more. Even if I feel like I know more than a lot of these people anyway, so I should promote myself more. I could do more things locally, nearby. I could create this vibe and this gathering of people locally so I can get more of a benefit out of it in my personal life more regularly. That might not benefit everyone or the Fruit Festival audience, but you know, still I kind of have to look after myself a little bit. And also I want to do something that other people can copy. Because it's almost everyone that's tried to do a fruit festival got really stressed out and lost money. I'm one of the few people that managed to do it a bunch of times without losing money and with making money. I'm one of the few people that did that without any major investment or anything. So, but other people would try and do it, and I knew they were not prepared for what they were having to do and all that. And so I advised people not to do it. And I really didn't like the fact that people were leaving the event inspired to do a festival. And I thought, I'm responsible for these people going out and trying to do these things that are really difficult to replicate. And ultimately, does it really get them somewhere? Does it really get the result they want? I think there's a lot of people that if you could click your fingers and have a fruit festival, they would do it. But the journey of doing it and everything is something most people don't want to do. But it is an incredible personal development thing for me, it was anyway. So there was so many things. The financial risk of the event is quite big and is all placed on me really. And that's really tough. And it would be nice to just have another job and everything, or have 2 jobs or whatever. But that was kind of, I don't know. It's difficult to do all these things at the same time and make it all work in your life. It was having a negative impact on my emotional life and stress and all that. It wasn't having an impact in my lifestyle the rest of the year because I wasn't able to see the people outside of the event once a year. So I wanted more. It wasn't really helping me get this out to more people because I would try and do things to build the audience and stuff. And ultimately I realized you either go like viral on social media because you're really good at that, and we never really went viral at all, or you have some money to put into advertising because you've got something that's really profitable. And that made sense to me more. And I've always liked that way of doing things. And with having not really enough money left over to really experiment with all that, it was very slowly growing. And therefore not really reaching as many people as you would want, and not making that impact of really getting more and more people onto this. So there's many things that were going through my head when it came to should I do the event again. And basically the way that I've thought about this is what these fruit festivals have been is like summer camps for a tribe that hasn't really been properly developed or put together. There are fruitarians out there are raw vegans out there are people trying this diet, but they're not very much together anywhere, and they're not like in a formal organization or whatever, or coaching group or whatever, in which they would kind of have a kind of natural thing of like, wouldn't it be great for us all to meet up? And then the events would form. The Fruit Festival is there as an event, and the raw vegan community kind of doesn't care. And the fruitarian community is kind of like, doesn't really care about it. Which is natural and normal, and it follows normal human social dynamic stuff, really. But yeah, so it's like a summer camp for an organization that hasn't developed. So what I really think is I need to start build the organization more. And I tried to do that a little bit last year, but I couldn't quite do both at the same time. So I decided I'm going to take a year off from doing the festival to see if I can build a community and start that process of building community and trying to create just more local stuff that I can do more regularly that other people can take on and do in other places. And then we replicate more maybe local events and stuff. And then we've got enough of a network of people to come together and say, let's do a big gathering. And to me, that makes more sense than the idea of another person popping up and going, there's no fruit festival in Greece. I'm going to start the Greece Fruit Festival. Well, yeah, you could do that. You can do that. It is possible. I could show a person how to do that, but I wouldn't really advise it as being like, this is the best. And what I would advise people to do is start your own local fruit luck, potluck group where you're just having people gathering together to eat fruit together and share knowledge together and all that. And maybe be a local teacher and guide to others. That's what we really need more people doing, I think. And those kind of things can be just as refreshing, just as good, and they can happen like every month or whatever. Now, does that replicate the festival? No. The fruit festivals are magic events, right? So I just want to say that. They are magic and unique events. That's why I fell so in love with the concept and why I've done it for like 12 years. Like I've been to 40 festivals. You know, I'm really into this thing. There's not that many festivals and I've been to 40 events, right? So I'm the biggest fan of this stuff. You know, I am probably the biggest fan of this. But I started to question it all. I mean, even for myself, I loved the Woodstock Fruit Festival. And then I came home and all my friends that I met were somewhere else. It's like, I wish I could bump into that person just walking down the street every once in a while. But there's no chance because they live 5,000 miles away. So I really want something to benefit my life and lifestyle more and more people. And it'll benefit more people over time. I want to create more of a model to follow to build community and build the raw vegan lifestyle and fruitarian diet and all that to more people and get the knowledge of human beings as frugivores out to more people. And that's, to me, not going to happen just by doing one fruit festival every year. That has this magical, amazing impact for 1 week, right? And when people are there, they're having the best time of their life. They're connecting with people in a way that's different. They're feeling different. They're feeling a part of their deep humanity coming out. They're feeling the real beauty of connection and the best of humanity all come out. Creativity, when we come together and do things together, and just the magic of it, the love of it, the connection of it. These events are incredible. But we need to have the community properly organized so that these events, when people try to put them on, are not these crazy, stressful, mad things to do. You know. So that probably is just about everything I want to say on it. And there is more to this. I could go deeper into it. But it's been a fantastic ride and journey, but it has been there's been a lot of mistakes, there's been a lot of challenges, and to some extent I just didn't really feel like there was someone I could reach out to that could really help and know what I should do. And so I was studying and learning and trying for years to figure all this out. The festival's on my mind all the time. Everything in life I was thinking, how can I apply this to the festival, and was always trying to make it better, and how do I get more people to come, and all these things were always on my mind, and thinking about the social dynamics of it, and how does all that work, and how should I present myself, how do people think of me at the event. So many things would go through my head all the time about this event. And so that's where I'm at. And what I will be focusing on more in the next year, and see where I get with this, is coaching. Starting off with one-to-one coaching, and then transitioning to having a coaching group or community, and hoping that this is all profitable enough and a good enough opportunity and everything, and works well and makes sense for me, that I can then, that the money from that can be put into more and more building the community, and that a community will form out of that will then be hungry for going to events, and then events can happen, and then bigger events can happen, and as that grows, really big events can happen, and I won't be so worried about it all, and I can be in a place to put together a team and do all the things that I really love to do. And that's the bigger vision of all this, and I think it's very possible. And so I'm moving forward with that. But my first step first is to start with some one-to-one coaching, and have some, develop something locally here. So that's my first step. And if you want to follow this journey, you can follow this video, follow this channel. Leave comments below if you have questions. And to some degree, if you are looking to put on retreats, events, festivals, maybe I'm open to talking to you about that if you want some more deeper advice on it. And certainly I do coaching now. I'm going to be focusing more on coaching now, helping people transition to the raw vegan diet, lose weight with the raw vegan diet, limit their health conditions with the raw vegan diet, or even with a half raw vegan diet, whatever, but helping people move towards better health, and coaching and teaching you about the mindset, the philosophy, all the things you need to do to be able to do this diet. So that's my journey going forward now. And so maybe the channel will change a little bit, I don't know. But you're free to continue to follow. Thank you for your support over the years anyway. And this is not the end for UK Fruitfest necessarily. It really depends, but not next year. Not next year. But 2027, 2028, maybe. We'll see. Okay? So thank you very much, everyone. And I'll see you in another video.